All right. Well, happy December, everybody. As today is December 1st. Um, and I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. As we are, as we are, as we now entering December here, the last, so we're almost out of 2022, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. We're now at the latter end of it, of course. And as such, I'm going to step away from the computer for a moment to take care of something real quick. I'll be right back, but as I'm away, I will put the on dinner. Guys, and I will be right back. So, I just said we'll give people a chance to get in here real quick. Let's see, we're coming up on 5 minutes. Let's see, Conan, the adventurer. Conan, man of bravery. He's more powerful than any man who spread his legend across land and sea. Conan, the mightiest warrior. His quest to undo the spell of living stone cast upon his family by driving the evil serpent men back into another dimension and vanquishing the cruel wizard Rathamon. Conan, the adventurer, Conan, man of bravery. He's more powerful than any man who spreads his legend across the land and sea. Do 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 do. Faster than a speeding bullet. Faster than a speeding train. All right, faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. 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 Let's see. Scooby Dooby Doo, we're looking for you. Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? All the stars are here waiting for you. Couldn't have a show without you. Scooby, Scooby Doo. Hey Scooby, where are you? Over here. Like father, like son, always number one. Yeah, they're buddies, they're pals, always seem to work things out. Can't you see they're two of a kind, looking for a real good time? Or to the Goof Troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, with a Goof Troop, best of friends forever. Yeah, with a Goof Troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, with a Goof Troop, best of friends forever. Now we're calling everyone. Come along and join the fun. Report to the Goof Troop. Yeah. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplane. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales, woo. You've been waiting, I've been waiting. DuckTales, woo. You've been making, I've been making DuckTales. And it's a stranger out to find you when you grab onto some DuckTales, woo. You've been making, I've been making DuckTales, woo. You've been waiting, I've been waiting, DuckTales, woo. Anyways, all right, so we're past the 8 minute mark, actually coming up on 8.5 minutes. So let me tell you what's on tap for tonight. So tonight we don't have any, we couldn't really find any major stories on Bounding into Comics. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through CBR. We're going to just randomly pick out stories to talk about. Everything comics to, obviously the anime, cartoons, comics, manga, pro wrestling, all the great neat stuff. Without any further ado, of course, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Go ahead and share screen here. There we go. Then we're going to go ahead and just start. We'll start with the comic section. Actually, there was something of note I did see earlier when I was scanning through here. No, okay, so this will be the first of the things we talk about here. All right, so Aline Kaminsky Crum, groundbreaking and innovative indie comics creator, dies at 74. Aline Kaminsky Crum, one of the most influential and groundbreaking independent comics creators, has passed away at the age of 74. Article by Brian Cronin, published 14 hours ago. Aline Kominsky-Crumb, one of the most influential and groundbreaking independent comic book creators of the past 50 years, has passed away at the age of 74. Born in Long Island, Aline Goldsmith spent her teen years in New York City involved in the counterculture. So if she was 74, let's see, that meant she would have been born, let's see, 11, so I think that would have made her born back in 1948, I believe. So yeah, 16, she was 13 and 61. So yeah, 13 and 61. So and then by 70 she would have been 22. So yeah, so okay, that made sense. Um, she befriended the avant-garde rock band the Fugs. She married Carl Kominsky um, when she was just 20 years old in 1968. They moved to Arizona, where Kominsky graduated with an MFA in fine art. They divorced fairly quickly, but Kominsky kept her new last name. While in Arizona, she ran into one of her old friends from the Fugs. I wonder how they came up with that name, Fugs. I could probably imagine. uh, who had also moved to the area. He introduced Kaminsky to the indie comics creators Spain Rodriguez and Beach. Kim Beach. I wonder if she's any relate. I wonder if if it is a she or he. I wonder if Kim Beach is in any relation to Gene Beach. Um, like many young creators of her generation, indie comics were mind blowing to her. She moved to San Francisco to work in comics in 1972. So that would have made her, let's see, that would have made her 24, I believe. She was 24 at that time. Soon after she arrived there, she was introduced to the famed indie comics creator Robert Crumb. The two soon started dating. The work of Justin Green, who passed away earlier this year, had just begun to popularize autobiographical indie comics, and Crumb was one of the first creators to pick up on the new type of storytelling. Kaminsky took to autobiographical storytelling extremely well. Her frank and open nature in her comics was refreshing. Kominsky was one of the founders of Women's Comics, okay? A follow up by indie publisher Last Gasp to the successful all female comic book, It Ain't Me, Babe, that had been formed by Trina Robbins and had been published by Last Gasp in 1970. Kaminsky was one of the strongest cartoonists in the group, and it was no surprise that it was one of her stories that officially launched the anthology. There's some of the artwork there. Kaminsky soon befriended Diane Noonan, the young artist who had just moved to San Francisco. Kaminsky brought Newman into the women's comics group. Newman, like Kominsky, soon started dating a fellow indie cartoonist. And like Crumb, Newman's boyfriend, Bill Griffith, creator of Zippy the Pinhead, was one of the top creators in the field. Their connections to their high profile significant others, especially Kominsky's relationship to Crumb, who was a controversial figure in feminist circles even back then, caused problems, and eventually Kominsky and Newman left the women's comics collective and the series in 1976. They then formed their own comic book, also published by Last Gasp, called Twisted Sisters in 1976. Uh, yeah, it does. Some of this artwork does look a little over the top. Whoa, okay. I don't think we need to see that. Oh boy. Oh boy. uh, yeah, I think seeing anybody on the can would really be quite. Ew. Anyways. Yeah. All right. Anyways, so we'll get back to the article then. All right. So sadly, Newman passed away a few months ago as well. Kaminsky married Crum in 1978, and in 1980 she gave birth to her daughter Sophie. So her daughter would be about 42 now. Sophie. Around that point in time, Kaminsky and Crum began to do a series of autobiographical comics about their lives together called Dirty Laundry. Um, Also, Kaminsky began referring to her autobiographical avatar as the Bunch. Oh boy. Kaminsky Crum's ability to cut anyone, including herself and her husband, right to the quick was revolutionary. Uh, there was there were no secrets in her work. During the 1980s, Kaminsky Crum was editor of the acclaimed independent comic series Weirdo. She helped foster a new generation of comic book creators during this period. In 1991, the Crums and their daughter, Sophie, moved to France, which, of course, they covered in their comics. Euro Dirty Laundry. Okay. Okay, so 91, that would have made her what? 91 minus, so that would have made her 43 at that time. Recently, Kominsky Crumb had been doing work with her daughter. 91, that would have made her daughter about 11 years old, um, who is now a cartoonist, Sophie Crumb, as well. They did a powerful cartoon in 2018, so 2018 I would have made Kominsky Crumb 70, and then her daughter at that time would have been 38, discussing their respective abortions. Speaking to Sarah Morose at the time, Kaminsky Crumb reflected on her career. This is from that article. I have stayed out of the mainstream my entire life, partially because the work itself determines that it's not mainstream work. We started our comics off in the Revolutionary Underground. I was a painter with a degree in fine art. I chose to do stuff that could be read on a toilet. Okay. Now my work is taught at Harvard, and women have written PhDs on my work, which really amazes me. So it's full circle if you hang in long enough. And I guess if your work is meaningful, eventually it's recognized by the establishment. On one hand, you can be contrarian and say no to everything. That's understandable too. But on the other hand, if you say yes more, people will read your work. And that's why you do it, to communicate. I had so many young women come up to me in 2018 on my book tour, and that was the most touching thing. They said, quote, I was dealing with this too, and when I could laugh about it, everything was much lighter, unquote. It made me feel connected. Drawn and Quarterly released an expanded version of Kaminsky Crumb's 1990 collection, Love That Bunch, in 2018 as well. Love That Bunch. Food, sex, death, pain, romance, joy. Lean Kaminsky Crumb. Kaminsky Crumb and Robert Crumb had an open marriage, and Kaminsky Crumb also lived in France with her quote unquote second husband, printmaker Christian um, Kudoris, and his daughter Agatha McCaney, who worked with Kaminsky Crumb on her comics as well. Kaminsky Crumb was still making powerful work in recent years, including her contributions to her longtime friend Diane Newman's 2019 collection, Drawing Power: Women's Stories of Sexual Violence, Harassment, and Survival. Kaminsky Crumb had been dealing with pancreatic cancer for some time, and she finally passed on November 29th, which was the, let's see, so yeah, 2 days ago, Tuesday. So there we go. So the fact that CBR was able to get that story pretty quickly there, that's kind of amazing in and of itself. Anyways, that's a good time to see what else going on here. To his Bane, one bad day is spoilers. Uh, Here we go. Here's one not containing spoilers or anything like that. George Perez's signature Hawaiian shirt hit the auction block to benefit his wife. Three of George Perez's signature Hawaiian shirts, which were handmade by his wife, Carol Flynn, are hitting the auction block on December 2nd, 2022. So tomorrow, basically. Article by Brent Schwer, published 8 hours ago. The original art experience show, hosted by Dynamite Entertainment Nick Barucci, is auctioning off three of George Perez's signature Hawaiian shirts, which were handmade by the legendary comic creator's wife, Carol Flynn. The items will go up for auction on December 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern, I guess 4 p.m. They should have said Pacific time, but they said ET again. On the Experiences YouTube page. Um, Proceeds from the shirt will go directly to Flynn. Quote, during his career, George could be seen often on the convention circuit wearing bright and colorful button-down shirts featuring various animated characters and other designs, unquote. Dynamite Entertainment said, quote, one of the most notable was a pink shirt with the character of Lamb Chop on it. For those of you, as in Lamb Chop, play along with Sherry Lewis and all that, and Charlie Horse and the game. These shirts were made for him by his wife, and three of her handmade shirts will be up for sale. Each feature patterns include Tweety and Sylvester, a frolicking panda, and hot air balloons. I guess here are some of the images. Images here. There are the shirts right there, I guess, with the first panel. You have some of the, these are some of the covers, some of the artwork from that Titans. You got Superman and Spider-Man. And you know, Thor. Look at all these artwork offered during the show includes homage pieces created by Bob Layton and original pages from Jim Starlin's Thanos versus Hulk and Ron Garney's Fantastic Four, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine. Quote, George's longtime art agent, Spencer Beck, of the artist's choice, provided shirts and worked with Bob Layton, provided the shirt and worked with Bob Layton on the art for the show, unquote. Dynamite said, quote, there will be many more surprises as well. Part of the proceeds from the Bob Layton art will go to help aid pancreatic cancer research in George Perez's name. Tower Cancer Research Foundation, based in Southern California, and funds um, leading local researchers, making a launch pad for additional funding and discoveries here and on the global stage. Um, Lustgarten Foundation Pancreatic Cancer Research has funded more than 250 million in research grants and been a leading force in every major advancement in pancreatic cancer research. George Perez, a comic legend. Well, at least I got somebody coming to say hi, hello. Hmm. Perez is known for being one of the most acclaimed American comic book artists of all time. Beginning his career for Marvel in 1974's Astonishing Tales #25, he went on to work on Fantastic Four, The Avengers, Infinity Gauntlet, Silver Surfer, and more for the publisher. For DC, Perez is known for his work on New Teen Titans, Crisis on Infinite Earth, Wonder Woman, and other titles. He also provided the art for the publisher's 2003-2004 crossover, JLA Avengers, in May 2022. In May 2022, Perez passed away at the age of 67 due to complications from pancreatic cancer. Watch the original art experience showed December 2nd, 2 at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now they're saying here 4 p.m. Eastern time, but I believe that's supposed to mean actually 4 p.m. Pacific time. I think they made a typo there. They have made a typo there. Um, Here. Alrighty then. So there's that one. Alright. So let's see what else we can find here. All right. I think we're through with some of the comic stuff, and now we'll move on to some anime stories here. I'll do that when we're ready. Well, here's an interesting profile piece for some of you Dragon Ball Z fans. Let's go ahead and look at it. Dragon Ball Z, which Z fighter was most to blame for Boo blowing up the Earth? There are a few characters who should have been able to prevent Majin Buu from destroying the Earth, but they all just kept letting him get away. Article by Mark York, published a day ago. Right? So this may be a day ago, but Buu's defeat in Dragon Ball Z was a team effort. However, his success throughout the Buu saga um, was also a team effort, and rather a team failure. Many characters who should have been able to vanquish the destroyer of worlds ended up letting him grow stronger till he was too much to handle. This eventually led to him blowing up the Earth. As for who takes the most blame for the Earth's destruction, that's still up for debate. Each character that can be blamed for letting Boo get away had their own set of motivations and shortcomings. To conclude, who made the biggest mistake? Here's a look at what everybody did wrong. Who's responsible for letting Boo destroy the Earth? Got a picture right there of, well, you got Vegeta to the left, the far left there, Goku to the far right, and then insert is Gohan. Many viewers blame Vegeta for letting Majin Buu awaken in the first place, since he was desperate for his decisive battle with Goku. He ignored the mission to stop the Majin, presumably so that they could have their fight. The damage they both ended up taking became became energy to help Boo reach his full power. At the very least, Vegeta tried to make up for his mistake and destroy Boo shortly after he'd awakened. He even went as far as to blow himself up. Not that it did anything to stop Imagine. Um, this does excuse the Prince of Saiyans from releasing the Destroyer of Worlds, but it was at least a proper step toward atonement on his part. Oh, wait, no, wait. This doesn't excuse the Prince of Saiyans from releasing the Destroyer of Worlds. Okay, that makes more sense. Goku is blamed for ascending to Super Saiyan 3, delivering a thorough beating to Boo, and then quitting in the middle of the match. What's frustrating about this is whether he would have won or not. He didn't even try. This was because he wanted to leave the problems of the living up to the living. But he ended up rejoining the fight later anyway. Um, he also technically shares the blame with Vegeta for helping awaken Majin Buu. Presumably, if he had turned into Super Saiyan 3 at all during the fight, he could have taken out Vegeta before either of them could mass enough damage to revive Buu. However, he didn't want to hurt Vegeta's pride, so he stayed a Super Saiyan 2 and let the ensuing battle reawaken the Majin. Oh. Gohan is yet another character who let Buu get away. Unlike Goku or Gotenks, Gohan almost certainly had an overwhelming advantage against Majin Buu, Majin, Majin, and should have been able to finish him off without issue. Unfortunately, he spent too much time putzing around and not only let Boo get away, but also let him absorb Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo. This was later undone by Goku and Vegeta, but it was still enough to give Buu an overwhelming advantage against Gohan. What character bears the most responsibility? Of all the characters that can be held accountable for letting Buu wreak havoc on the Earth, Goku is probably the most guilty. As far as he could tell, he had the power to nip the problem in the bud on at least two separate occasions. Unlike the others who didn't stop Buu due to negligence and underestimation, Goku chose not to use his powers for reasons he would later go back on anyways. Even when he finally decided to use his Super Saiyan 3 power to finish off Buu after the Earth had been destroyed, his strength was too depleted to pull it off. He instead had to rely on Vegeta's highly improvised Super Saiyan bomb plan to get the job done. Goku takes far too many risks as the Earth's supposed protector. He had the right idea of leaving the job to the next generation, but he went about it all wrong. Because of this, he wasn't able to keep the Earth getting blown up by Majin Buu. All right. We move on. Hey, let's see what happens with these. My ace of that. Okay, let's now like one maybe as long as there's no spoilers in it. And in case of spoilers, okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one now. Why Ace of Diamond is one of the best baseball anime of all time. For decades, baseball has remained one of the most common themes in sports anime. However, very few outshine them all. Article by Erica Hennessy, published 13 hours ago. Okay, so here. For years, sports anime have perished as one of the biggest genres, or have persisted as one of the biggest genres in the industry. With the FIFA World Cup in Qatar um, currently underway, the genre's popularity has been boosted and more relevant than ever, especially with the new smash hit soccer anime Blue Lock. Other widely known sports animes include, but are not limited to, Haikyuu, which is a volleyball anime, Yuri on Ice, ice skating, and Skate the Infinity, which I'm guessing probably has something to do with like skateboarding or something like that. I would guess. Um, while soccer-oriented anime such as Aoshi and Blue Lock have garnered more acclaim, recently baseball is actually the most used sports in the genre, with its prominence going as far back as the 1960s. Um, the wide range of terms in terms of plot, tone, and characters, fans support as well as genre are sure to find something they like. Due to this, only a few stand out from the other. Now, granted, there's a couple that I know of. There's Big Wind Up and Princess Nine. Big Wind Up delves into the basically between a pitcher and a catcher, and Princess Nine is basically about an all girls baseball, not softball, baseball. A collection of popular baseball anime. Out of all the baseball themed anime, the most viewed and critically acclaimed are Major, Ace of Diamond, and the more retro Miracle Giant Domekun. Major closely focuses on a young boy named Goro Honda who dreams of being a professional baseball player. As he ages up throughout the series, he works to achieve by facing every obstacle in his way. On the other hand, Ace of Diamond centers on uh, Ajun Sawamura, who has an exceptional method of pitching. Um, when he and his friends decide to play a game of baseball for fun one day, he ends up being scouted and admitted to a highly regarded high school. Soon, he is involved in helping his new team make it to nationals, which is big in Japan. Hey, how's that going in there? That much more concise. Miracle Giant Domekun follows Dome Chinjo, a young boy who is the son of a recently deceased pro baseball player. Like his father, Dome enjoys baseball and is exceptionally gifted, prompting him to be recruited by a team known as the Giants. Yeah, Japan has their own Giants and Dodge. Now in Japan, the Dodgers, or at least the team that has similar uniform to the Dodgers, are known as the Dragons. Dragons. So, and they have their uniforms very similar to the Dodgers. Although his talent gives the team a long winning streak, he is soon to find out that there is more than just talent in professional baseball. But all three aforementioned animes have their own while all three aforementioned animes have their own unique take on the sport, Ace of Diamond far exceeds the rest. Hey Timothy, Japanese love their baseball. Yeah, I mean just think of like guys like Ichiro Suzuki, Hideki Matsui, um, the Kaz Matsui, Mitsuharu. Oh wait, no, that's a wrestler. Um, Ace of Diamonds protagonist must work his way up. It looks like he's a southpaw too, if that's the right picture. Despite being chosen to attend Sato High School and being on its baseball team, Ajun knows very little about the sport. Adding on to his lack of knowledge, making him infamous among his peers, he's very impulsive and outspoken, much to their chagrin. His overconfident and reckless nature often lands him in hot water with his teammates. However, Ajun is not afraid to make mistakes, as they not only teach him about more about baseball, um, but also how to improve his pitching talent. Um, Taking these lessons to heart, he becomes a better pitcher and teammate. Despite his teammates getting annoyed by his actions and behavior, they are very fond of him, um, not being afraid to speak his mind, and his refusal to give up. It sets up for Ajun to become a good leader for the team. Ace of Diamond is faithful to the sport. That grip looks like a fastball grip right there, I believe. To say that Ace of Diamond is an anime about an average baseball team would be an understatement. Aside from the basics, Ace of Diamond delves into the rules and terms associated with the sport, giving audiences a better understanding of baseball as a whole. On, on top of that, the anime does not hesitate to showcase any injuries a players obtain, demonstrating how realistically violent baseball can be. Despite the various shortcomings, his various shortcomings, Ajun is not the only one who needs to prove himself. While Ace of Diamond contains a colorful cast of characters, each of them have their own faults they need to overcome. So, um, so that they can succeed as a team. The boys are also shown working together over time in order to secure victories, making it known that team building is an essential part of any sport in order to achieve their desired success. So there we go with that one. Uh-huh. Oh, we already I guess. What else we can find here? Environmental themed anime aren't limited to Studio Ghibli films. Okay, that might be an interesting one to look at. But before we do that, I do need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be back, but while I'm gone, I'll go ahead and put some music on the end. Step away from the computer for a moment. All right, so let's get into this next article here. Environmental themed anime aren't limited to Studio Ghibli films. Ghibli films are known to touch on topics around nature and the environment. However, they're not the only anime to feature these kinds of themes. Article by Christy Gibbs, published 12 hours ago. Studio Ghibli films have achieved global fame for many reasons, including their hand-drawn watercolor-esque artwork, strong-willed female protagonists, and whimsical atmosphere that often delves into magical realism or the supernatural. In addition, Ghibli titles are frequently known to heavily incorporate themes of environmentalism and connectedness with the natural world, as in the likes of My Neighbor Totoro, Pompoko, and Princess Mononoke. However, Studio Ghibli's creations are not the only anime out there to prominently feature these kind of themes. For viewers on the lookout for full-length anime shows that depict strong environmental ideals and place a firm emphasis on humanity's coexistence with nature, they need to look no further than the quietly gorgeous Mushishi and the more dramatic yet oft forgotten Magical Girl series Earth Maiden Arjuna. The Earth Maiden Arjuna is kind of a surreal series in of itself, and so is Mushishi. Let's see. Mushishi is a story of survival from both nature's and humanity's points of view. Based on the 1999 to 2008 seinen manga of the same name, Mushishi, it was first adapted into an anime in series in 2005, ending in 2014 after 2 seasons. Although it also received 2 specials, plus both an anime and live action film, the story is set in an imaginary period sometime between the Edo and Meiji eras and follows Ginko, a mushi master who travels from place to place, helping people who are suffering various problems caused by the primitive and typically invisible supernatural life forms known as mushi. Largely episodic and curiously mellow in tone, and the theme songs are pretty interesting too. Hey, 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 hey. Every night and day, I swear to you. All right. Let's see. Ginkgo, as well as Mushishi itself, makes it clear that neither people nor Mushi are inherently good or bad. It's merely that each species has an equal desire to survive. While the vast majority of anime are based on and around interhuman relationships, Mushishi's focus is on the silent and usually unseen relationship between humans and Mushi. As the sole main character in the series, Ginkgo acts as a bridge between humanity and the natural world of these beings, which are described as, quote, life in its purest form, unquote. Set in a version of Japan on the threshold between the traditional and modern, Mushishi's subdued and meditative atmosphere helps to highlight the show's concern with how nature, despite not being thought of as sentient in itself, is deeply and intricately connected to humanity. It's simply that most people don't realize until the effects of the two inadvertently crossing paths make this physically obvious. Earth Maiden Arjuna combines ecological idealism with spiritual philosophy. Yeah, this series was a bit surreal in its own right, as I said. Many, if not most, televised anime titles draw upon previous source material to tell their stories, primarily manga, video games, and light novels. But Maiden Arjuna, in Japanese called Shikyu Chojo Arjuna, is an anime original series that aired for 12 episodes in 2001. When main character Juna um, dies in a motorcycle accident, she has an out of body experience in which she witnesses the earth suffering and dying due to numerous worm-like creatures called Raja, which are formed from the toxic pollution unknowingly created by humankind. When a boy named Chris Hawken appears before Juna and offers to resurrect her if she agrees to help save the planet, she reluctantly agrees, becoming the Avatar of Time. As well as being an older and lesser known title than Mushishi, the magical girl drama Earth Maiden Arjuna may not be for everyone. On paper, the storyline may sound like a little like a slightly darker Japanese version of Captain Planet, which I could see that. I could see how people, because I've watched Earth Maiden Arjuna. I watched it earlier this year again. In fact, you could make that argument that it's maybe a slightly darker version of Captain Planet. There definitely is a pro-environmental message in there. It's probably a little more surreal too, with some of the supernatural aspects that get thrown in there, like as we said, the girl dying and becoming the the princess of time or whatever, the master of time or whatever. However, it sometimes takes things to the extremes, containing messages not only about protecting Mother Earth from man-made pollution and toxic waste, but also, unsubtly and somewhat divisively, offering opinions on the likes of natural farming and abortion. The series also draws heavily on Hindu-inspired beliefs, such as the seven chakras. At its heart, though, Arjuna is a highly philosophical and thought-provoking treatise on the inescapable interconnectedness of all forms of life, be it animal, plant, or spirit. Anime that hone in on themes surrounding the environment and people's relationship with the often unseen forces of nature may initially seem few and far between. outside of Studio Ghibli movies, or even outside anime films in general. Nonetheless, both Mushishi and Earth Maiden Arjuna, with their vastly different takes on and storytelling approaches to these topics, make it clear that there's more diversity to be had. The former is available or streaming on a number of platforms, including Crunchyroll and Funimation, while the latter can be found on Tubi. Yeah. Alrighty then. There we go with that one. Alright, here's something to look at here. So I guess Disney's getting more into the anime market here. Disney announces major anime deal based on Kodansha manga titles. Disney partners with the famous Japanese publisher Kodansha to create several new animated projects based on the company's popular manga titles. Article by Renee Senzatamore, published 7 hours ago. Alrighty then, so let's take a look here and see what we have. Disney signed a deal with Kodansha to release new animated works based on the publisher's popular titles. As detailed by The Hollywood Reporter, Disney is teaming up with Kodansha to co-produce a plethora of new anime originals for Disney+. The entertainment titan will also have licensing rights to several anime titles based on Kodansha's manga, such as Tokyo Revengers, Christmas Showdown arc, Tokyo, which launches on Disney Plus January 2023. So they're gonna have a Christmas Showdown arc after Christmas. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Disney announced some of the upcoming projects on Disney Plus Japan Twitter account. While these series are branded as Disney Plus exclusives, they will be produced by several different animation studios, including Studio 4 Degrees C, 4 Degrees Celsius, 8-Bit, ENH Production, and Gaga. Guess here are some of the pictures, some of the trailers, I guess. More anime is coming to Disney Plus. Studio 4 Degrees C's Eden 17 is based on the unfinished Phoenix manga written by Osamu Tezuka, known by many as, quote, the godfather of manga, unquote. Tezuka is responsible for some of the most iconic anime and manga series of all time, such as Astro Boy, Blackjack, and Kimba the White Lion. Tezuka's Phoenix manga revolves around the titular Bird of Fire, unquote, quote unquote, as it journeys through the ages, watching over humanity and overseeing the natural cycle of death and rebirth. Instead of having one central protagonist, Phoenix follows several different human characters, many of which seek out the Phoenix with the hope of receiving eternal wisdom or even eternal life. According to a short plot description included with the post, Phoenix Eden 17 will revolve around the character named Romy as she leaves behind, quote unquote, the dying Earth for a planet called, quote unquote, Eden 17. Eden as in the Garden of Eden, I guess, right? Basically paradise. Future love paradise. Well, the riders will not stop us. For the only love they'll find is paradise. It's a song called Future Love Paradise from Seal, by the way. Those of you who may not know that. Future Love Paradise. The second series, Mirai in Love, is based on Junta Shima's popular manga of the same name. According to the Post, the plot is a, quote, non-stop romantic comedy, unquote, about a male student who falls in love with a teacher. Oh, a common theme in many Japanese anime and mangas. This is the type of stuff that gets SJW so hot and bothered. Gets their undies in a twist. However, the teacher is in love with the quote unquote preferred character of an otome story-based game. Although a short manga-style teaser trailer is included in the announcement post, the translated version of the post does not specify if Mirai in Love is a film or a series. Unlike Phoenix Eden 17 and Mirai in Love, the other animated works are not based on any existing properties. Studio 8-Bit and Bandai Namco's upcoming Synduality is a science fiction series revolving around an, quote, AI-equipped humanoid, unquote, living among the remnants of humanity in a, quote unquote, devastating future. It actually sounds like another anime that I've watched a while ago. I don't remember the name of it, but I think it came out in 2001. There's another anime like that, though, that I know of. I just can't remember its title right now off the top of my head, but it might be Kurogane. Not Peacemaker, just Kurogane. I believe that might have been it. Let's see. Yusuke Yamamoto will direct the series, while Takashi Aoshima will write the series composition. ENH Production and Gaga series provisionally titled Bullet is based on an idea by Jujutsu Kaisen director Song-Hoo Park. While not much has yet been revealed about the story, a piece of promotional artwork shows what are presumably the main characters standing in the middle of a desolate wasteland while a large city looms in the distance. Phoenix Eden 17 and Synduality will debut on Disney Plus sometime in 2023. The release windows for Bullet Bullet, Hidden Mariah and Love have not yet been announced. Well, there we go with that one. All right, so continuing on with the. All right, this might be well. Geez, that might be a spoiler actually. Okay, actually, since this is coming from my all-time favorite, I'll look at this. Yu Yu Hakusho. One member of the Sensui Seven remained a possible threat to humans. The Sensui Seven of Yu Yu Hakusho saw humanity as a plague, and one remaining member could have possibly gone on to continue their extermination. Article by Timothy Donahue, published 4 hours ago. So let's see what I have to say about this here. Classic shonen anime series Yu Yu Hakusho had several threats for its starring Ghost Detective, be they humans, demons, or anything in between. One example of this was the Sensui Seven, group of humans who were sworn to destroy their own kind. Though their plans were stopped by Team Urameshi, one of their most dangerous members lived to see another day. Kanami Hagire, aka Sniper, was a powerful telekinetic marksman fought by Team Urameshi. Wounded but not killed, the villain seemed poised to continue his misanthropic reign of terror. Given that Yusuke and his allies seemed unaware of this, it meant that the villain could wreak havoc against humanity unchallenged. Who was Sniper of the Sensui Seven? The Sensui Seven, also known as the Shinobu Seven, named for their leader Shinobu Sensui, a former ghost detective, spirit detective, was a group of antagonists faced in Chapter Black arc of Yu Yu Hakusho. Their leader was Shinobu Sensui, former spirit detective who once saw the world in a rather black and white way, with demons being a unquestionably evil, and humans always deserving of protection. Upon seeing a group of humans torturing a demon for pure entertainment, however, his worldview completely shifted. Forming his own team, his goal was to unleash unfettered demons upon Earth and kill off humanity. Nami Hagari was one of his allies, whose keen marksmanship was made only stronger with his telekinetic projectile attacks. So imagine that, being a very skilled marksman and being able to amplify that through telekinesis. That's almost like, I mean, you don't even have to go through the air. You just put the bullet. It's like you can just put the bullet wherever you want to mark it. Put it right into the guy's chest and right into his heart, pretty quickly. That's what you really wanted to do. These abilities made him incredibly deadly, no matter the projectile. Yeah, in fact, I remember when he was confronting Yusuke, he even sent a he quite literally aimed a truck. He aimed a truck at Yusuke. Imagine having somebody sit there with their mind, taking control of a truck to chase you down. That would be kind of insane, don't you think? All right. Oh, let's see now. No matter the projectile, with mere dice becoming dangerous while in his arsenal. His use of a truck, as I just mentioned, and a pistol as a weapon nearly killed Yusuke. Though the latter was saved by Team Urameshi member Hiei. Hiei also responded to the attack by stabbing Konami with a sword. While this took Konami out of the fight, he wasn't dead, as shown by his disturbing appearance down the road. Sensui 7's sniper is still alive in Yu Yu Hakusho. Later on in Yu Yu Hakusho, Konami's sniper was shown to have survived due to Hiei missing his internal organs when he impaled him. From there, he was seen with his sister, and the two tried to find out why a street cat was killed by a crossbow marksman. When he realized that it was 3 classmates of his, Konami swore to hunt them down and make them pay. This humanity-hating perspective explains why he was a member of Sensui 7, and it also made him the most dangerous of them. Other villains in the series, including Tsukihito Amanuma, were able to move past their formerly wicked ways and change for the better. That obviously wasn't the case for Konami, however, who clearly intended to continue enacting violence on humans that he saw as wicked. No, basically, in some ways, you could argue that Konami Hagari is much like Light from Light from Death Note and a few other darker style vigilantes. You know, they would use their abilities or their their weapons, their abilities, or what have you, skills to enact their own brand of justice. To be fair, his classmates' behavior was reprehensible, and only further fuel to what Century 7 saw as the wickedness of humanity. In fact, their selfish antipathy toward others somewhat mirrored the initial nature of the series' delinquent protagonist, Yusuke, with his resolve validated, and with Team Urameshi seemingly unaware that he was running around, Sniper could easily begin the Sensui 7's vendetta anew. Yeah, but here's the thing, because I've watched the series several times. I don't know if, like, Sensui, when he was doing it, saw it on a more global scale. I think Hagari here, Sniper, sees it more on a local scale. It's like, I don't know if Hagari in of itself is looking to destroy the world because of its wickedness, whereas Sensui was. Okay? Hagari is just, as I said, he's kind of more like, I think he's in some ways more like Light from Death Note. He's just more out enacting his own sense of justice, right or wrong, whether you think it's right or wrong, mind you. He's just enacting his own sense of justice. Given how deadly he was against those with powers similar to his own, Konami would be able to pick off and decimate any normal humans that he saw fit to kill. Given the relatively happy ending for Yu Yu Hakusho, this presumably still existent threat does put a potential damper on things, but no change occurring in his black, hate-filled heart. Konami of the Sensui 7 was now more than capable of becoming an uncontested scourge. Well, true. Well, okay. Author does make some good points there. But again, since I've watched the series and I saw the character and how the character was written and stuff like that, I think one of the primary differences here is that Hagari doesn't strike me as a megalomaniacal jerk. Okay? Sensui definitely was more of a megalomaniacal jerk. And some of the other people, when they were in their own darkness, when they were embracing the more evil tendencies of their own humanity in the group, you know, they may have had more megalomaniacal desires, but Hagari doesn't necessarily strike me as a megalomaniac. So yes, he's more of a local. They say, well, this happy. Well, because the focus at the very end of Yu Yu Hakusho was on the fact that Yusuke had returned to the demon world and basically helped to conclude his father's reformation of it. Okay, that was what that's what the happy ending was about. Doesn't necessarily mean that in the human world things were going to change all that much. That's also the funny thing about Yu Yu Hakusho too. Throughout the series, they kind of went back and forth. So, in the first arc, the Spirit Detective arc, in which was basically introductory arc throughout the first season. There, you had Yusuke. He had him becoming a spirit detective. Get to know Kuwabara, and then we meet up with the three demons, Goki, Kurama, and Hiei, in which was able to reform two of them, and they ended up becoming part of his team. They deal with demons. Then he went to train, where he was primarily dealing with human adversaries. Yes, there was one demon in there, but he was primarily dealing with human adversaries. So the first season was a microcosm of what the rest of the series would be, because with him going back and forth between dealing with like human threats and demon threats. And then by the time you get to like the Dark Tournament saga, okay, now you're dealing with primarily demon threats. And then with maybe a soul group of humans serving as the main antagonist. Then we get to Chapter Black, where it becomes, humans are the main antagonist. And then you go back to the Three Demon Kings arc, and now we're back to the demons being the antagonist. So it's kind of how it worked out in that series. So, but Sniper, I don't think he's quite as dangerous as this author is saying. Only yes, his powers make him a very dangerous individual. Okay, but I think his underlying motivations are not there. He's not out. He doesn't have any like megalomaniacal tendencies. He's not out to like destroy the world. Okay, he's just meting out justice, in a way that granted maybe not everybody would agree with, but that's how it works out. Let's see where we are at now. Oh, we're 36. Okay. So let me see. Let's at least try to see if we can at least finish this up before starting to wind things down a bit here. All right. So let's see now. That's before. Here's another one because I want to take a good look at this. Yorosei Yatsura 2022 is the perfect example of getting a reboot right. Yorosei Yatsura is a great revamp of the classic 80s anime, succeeding where other anime reboots fail due to its tangible love of the material. Article by Timothy Donahue, published 4 hours ago. 2022 has had several hit anime, but one of them is a new take on an old classic. Urusei Yatsura is one of the most iconic anime franchises ever made, with the original series synonymous with the quote-unquote classic era of the medium, as it was just beginning to gain a wider audience outside Japan. Thankfully, the show's remake is hitting all the right notes in terms of adapting material for a new audience. Yurusei Yatsura was made for a different, much less international audience back in the 80s. By bringing all that same energy to the new show, not to mention updating the storytelling scope somewhat, the 2022 Yurusei Yatsura is able to avoid the issues of many other modern anime remakes. Here's what puts the new version of the old classic above more failed attempts at anime remakes. Yurusei Yatsura 2022 is a quote-unquote best of collection of the original anime and manga. In remaking Yurusei Yatsura, the showrunners for the 2022 anime aim to be faithful to both the original anime and the Rumiko Takahashi manga. Takahashi is also wrote the manga for Inuyasha. Wrote the Inuyasha manga as well, so that spawned it. Thus, it pretty succinctly brings the classic manga to life, switching some elements and dropping others here and there to make sure it's still fairly fresh. To this end, the 70s 80s time period of the old version is retained, meaning that things don't have to be updated too much. That's perhaps the biggest area where the new Yurusei Yatsura succeeds, as it doesn't try to bring unnecessary quote-unquote modernizations into the mix, which a lot of anime remakes will do. In fact, not only that, but they'll bring in a lot of modern ideologies too, as we talked about several times on my on my show, on the Mikestand, as well as on other podcasts. With several properties, especially those outside anime, the creators behind various remakes tend to take things too far in order to update the material. The result is in missing the point of certain quirks or excising them entirely to attempt to appeal to more quote-unquote modern sensibilities. Yurusei Yatsura 2022 does none of that, even with some of the more ribald elements of the series. There's likewise no poor attempt to pander to quote-unquote the kids by having Luna use a smartphone or some other gag. Though there is a humorous Zoom call in one episode. Doing anything different would have likely upset fans of the old Yurusei Yatsura, especially since it's such an iconic series. The show, which came out 41 years after the first anime, is clearly made with a lot of love and reverence for the original. And it never comes off as a cheap cash grab or mere nostalgia bait. Most importantly, it captures the youthful spirit of the original, perfectly encapsulating what made the classic version of the story such a hit with an entire generation of fans. Yurusei Yatsura 2022 succeeds where many recent anime reboots fail. Yurusei Yatsura 2022 is one of several anime remakes released in the past 5 years, with some of the most recent ones definitely being the poorest. The rebooted versions of Shaman King and Digimon Adventures were either quickly forgotten or lambasted for failing to compare well to the original versions. Much of this came from rushing the material and being unable to successfully reproduce the same quote unquote magic, whereas Yurusei Yatsura has an almost slavish devotion to getting things right. Slavish, that's an interesting word. The animation and art style are updated, making scenes and key and gags pop even more so than the original. This isn't the only thing that the new version brings to the table, however, whereas other remakes simply improve upon the look of their source material. In bringing elements of the manga to the forefront, Yurusei 2022 does one element much better than the 2021 Shaman King. That show was meant to more faithfully produce the manga, which the original anime had notably diverged from. The problem was that the remake did so in a more rushed, borderline uninterested manner, resulting in the material not being done justice. That's not the case with the new Yurusei, which gives the classic series a modern sparkle that's still humorously familiar. All right, then. Oh, there we go with that one. And I see where are we at on time here. Yeah. So yeah, what do you think? That's enough articles for tonight. I think it's a good time to start winding down here. Alrighty then. So yeah. So anyways, so with all that, I think it's a good time to start winding down a bit here. I think we're past the. Let's see, we're at hour 46 here. So by the time we get through everything else here, so now let's go on to the wrestling wrap up here. So let's see now. What do we have from some WWE and AEW news? Let's see. Yeah, there's not as much going on. WWE, they're just the girl, of course, from the girl who got let go from the WWE over what is speculating to believe allowing a friend to jump the guard or goading a friend to jump the guardrail at an event in Mexico City. She responded. And just saying that she hopes she can find work elsewhere. Also, there's rumors going around now that William Regal might possibly be going back to the WWE. Now these are just rumors, mind you, but he has, of course, been for much of the year here in 2022 was managing the Blackpool Combat Club until he turned on Jon Moxley at Full Gear. And then on, of course, last night's Dynamite, MJF turned on him, blasted him back of the head with the brass knucks. Truly showing just how demonic he is. And speaking of AEW and Dynamite, we went over last night, of course, the results. We saw that, of course, in the main event, the Elite got their first win in the best of 7 series against Death Triangle for the AEW World Trios titles. Their next match in the series coming up in 2 weeks on December 14th. At Winter is Coming. Also, let's see. Willow Nightingale defeated Anna JS in her match. Let's see. Ricky Starks defeated Ari Daivari in a matter of just 24 seconds. Samoa Joe had a very successful title TNT title defense against AEW newcomer AR Fox, who now AR Fox has been wrestling on Dark and Elevation as enhancement talent for a while, but now he's finally been signed to All Elite. And then to open the show, of course, the first match of the show, Bryan Danielson did eventually beat Dax Harwood of FTR, what many people call a classic, many including myself. I saw some of the match, and I can tell you it was a classic. Some other things happened on Dynamite last night, of course, in which a couple of returns. Adam Page returned from his concussion and confronted John Moxley. It looks like they may be getting ready to do a feud between Page and Moxley. Page, I guess, seeking revenge for the concussion. That might keep them both in the heavyweight title picture. And then Ruby Soho made her return during the women's match and confronted Ty Mello, who had left her with a broken nose. So that feud is popping up. And also, during an interview with Renee Paquette between the Blackpool Combat Club members Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, and of course the members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, consisting of Ring of Honor Pure Champion Daniel Garcia, Jake Hager, Angelo Parker, and Matt Menard. They also set up another match for the Final Battle, Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view coming up on December 10th, 2 weeks from Saturday, or a week from Saturday. I think, in fact, we're 9 days away from that now. Already signed, of course, was Chris Jericho defending the Ring of Honor title against Claudio Castagnoli. Castagnoli, if he loses, will have to join the Jericho Appreciation Society. And another match that was set up, of course, in his claim to finish things once and for all, Wheeler Yuta wants to get back the Ring of Honor Pure title, which he lost to Daniel Garcia. So that match was also signed. So that's it with the wrestling roundup. So as we now start to finish things off, and as we start to wind things down, today being Thursday, December the 1st, 2022, why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! Alrighty then, so without no further ado, let's go ahead and, okay. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. So let's get to this then. Today being Thursday, December the 1st, 2022. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. And we're first going to go back 80 years ago today. As on this date, 80 years ago today, the first issue of Jingle Jangle Comics from Eastern Color went on sale on this date back in 1942. It sold, of course, for 10 cents for 64 pages. So the cover date was February of 1943. So on this date, 80 years ago today, Eastern Color would release the first issue of Jingle Jangle Comics, which, as I looked at earlier, ran for 42 issues from 1943 to 1949. So there was something there. So, anyways, we now get ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. As on this date 25 years ago today, had a couple of interesting shows wrestling wise, as both Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro both had some interesting matchups. So on this date 25 years ago, WWF at the time, World Wrestling Federation, would hold its Monday Night Raw event. Okay, so this is televised on the first, but it was actually taped. Okay, so never mind that. Should have double checked that a little bit more. That's right. I forgot that back then WWE would tape the Raw shows several weeks in advance. So the actual show that was live that night was Monday Nitro. And on the Monday Nitro event from that, and I will pull that up. Pull that up here in a moment. So on December 1st, 1997, 25 years ago, WCW held its live event from the Knoxville Civic Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee. And on the show, the main event saw Kurt Hennig actually retain the United States heavyweight title in a losing effort via DQ to Diamond Dallas Page. Lex Luger defeated Bob Bagwell via DQ. Harlem Heat would defeat Faces of Fear. You saw a number of great matches this night, including Rey Mysterio Jr. defeating Juventud Guerrera, Prince Iaukea defeating Yuji Nagata. Scott Hall defeated Disco Inferno. Ultimo Dragon defeated Psychosis. But on this date, back in 1997, 25 years ago today, the Knoxville Civic Center in Knoxville, Tennessee, WCW held its Monday Nitro event. All right, so moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history here. We go back 10 years ago today. As on this date, 10 years ago today, OLM Incorporated. OLM Incorporated would release the anime movie Inazuma 11 Go versus Don Boro Senki W. This is kind of a crossover anime film between Inazuma 11 and Little Battler's Experience, LBX. So on this date, back in 10 years ago today, Inazuma 11 Go versus Little Battle LBX. The film was released in Japan on this date 10 years ago today. And last but not least, on this date 5 years ago today, the Netflix animated series All Hail King Julian would complete its run on this date in 2017. 5 years ago today, The was the final release of Netflix's anime All Hail King Julian on this date 5 years ago today on Netflix. So with that, guys, we're about to wrap up here. So just to remind you, of course, we're going to be back here tomorrow as we get back into our historical comic retrospect after a week off. Tim Olson will be joining me as we will be, of course, starting our July of 1939 coverage, looking at comics that went on sale in July of 1939. DC will of course, we'll be reading stories from Detective Comics number 30, Adventure Comics, All American Comics, and movie comics. Among the characters featured will include Batman, Sandman. As we said, we'll look into the movie comics a little bit as that 5th issue of movie comics, the 5th of 6 issues, mind you, and of course, a couple of stories out of All American. A couple of our old buddies, the aviation hero Hop Harrigan, and our old cartoonist buddy, Scribbly Gibbet. So that's what we have on tap for you, folks. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.